to Deloitte Tech Talks. Hi there, and welcome to Tech Talks. I'm your host, Raquel Buscaino, and I lead Deloitte's Novel and Exponential Technologies team, our next team, where we sense and make sense of emerging tech. I am so excited to be with you today for this special edition episode of Tech Talks, because we are recording from the Consumer Electronics Show, CES, in Las Vegas. It is a packed house here, 4,100 exhibitors. I mean, tons of people. It is such a lively environment. And so we are excited to be recording this special episode from the Deloitte Skybox. I'm also very excited because this episode will mark a bittersweet moment in Tech Talks. This will actually be our last podcast episode for Tech Talks. But the exciting thing is we'll be transitioning to a new podcast called Forward Technology, who was hosted by a dear friend, mentor, colleague, someone I respect very deeply, which is also going to be our guest for today, Bill Briggs, our Chief Technology Officer. So, Bill, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks.
I couldn't be more excited for this episode.
And what a hell of a run with Tech Talks, and we're going to try to do it justice as we continue on the new, which you're going to be a part of, which is going to be amazing. And here we are at CES.
Looking around, I mean, we've got a beautiful show floor behind us. Life's good.
The energy is high. Yeah, so 4,100 exhibitors, I think 2.5 million square feet of emerging tech, which I love because I think people feel like, oh, the world's changed so fast. There's so much happening. And this is almost like that embodied in physical form. But the real question becomes, what does it mean and what should we do? I know we'll get to dig into that a little bit. And that's a big piece of where our Tech Trends research every year plays into. But how's it been so far for you?
It's been great. I mean, I think my feet are a little bit tired from walking the show floor, which is a rite of passage.
Yep.
If they're not, then you're not doing it right.
That's right.
If you haven't seen more technologies, then you can count on your hands. You're doing it wrong. So we're off to a good start. But maybe we'll start with CES 2026 as you've walked around the show floor.
Yeah.
What have you seen? What's excited you?
I think every year we say there's so much happening. This feels like the most chaotic and ambitious, and that the fact that we say it every year, I think it's just because it's building on each other year to year. So that's not just hyperbole. I think that's real. The things that get the headlines are some of the novel, quirky, the smart lollipop that plays music as you lick it with vibrations in your skull. And my wife, she saw the news of a laundry folding robot, and her quote to me in text was literally, "Give me that." She wants that to come home. So those are fun, and a lot of them are concepts that might never see actual. But the overarching theme, I think, is that AI is literally everywhere, which, funny enough, the Tech Trends theme this year was about AI everywhere. And I think we're in this moment of how do we move away from the hype cycle and then shift out, where are we actually seeing AI applied to ways that drive real impact, utility value, and not just be the billboard fodder to get people excited. And I think we even said this last year. 100 years ago, people were saying, now with electricity. Now, we don't see that on a lot of billboards walking through. And I think soon it's going to be like that with AI, that it's assumed it's going to be a part of the fabric of every bit of technology. And the real question is going to be, for what purpose? And, the why versus the what. Definitely. We're still kind of in the what phase right now. Yeah.
I would have said 2 years ago, everyone put AI on their billboards and their booths. Like, everyone had it. Yeah. No one was doing it, really.
Right.
Last year, experimentation. This year's theme, I think, fits really well with Tech Trends 2026, which is we're moving to production.
Yeah.
So what's the actual value?
Embodied in actual product. And I think the other thing is CES is consumer is the C in CES. We're seeing so much, our clients across industries, including government, public sector here, because the tech impact we're seeing, there's a big bit of industrial here, but the underlying technology is so part of all of our clients. It's not just the narrow segments of media and telco. And of course, there's big TVs with new pixels and micro RGB and whatever the things will come. But there's more and more of CES embodying what technology means to back office, front office, which is exciting. Yeah.
It is, it is. Well, so why don't we dive into our trends for this year? So Tech Trends launched in December of this year. So it's been about a month, I think.
17th year, and the mission hasn't changed, just looking 18 to 24 months out. So it's trying to be provocative, but pragmatic, that mix. And what I love is every chapter says, what's the now, the things you can do literally right now, but what's the new and what's the next? And your team helps look out in the horizons, because depending on the individual client we're dealing with, they're all starting at different places. And the tech's moving so fast, it's really hard to put a pin on just exactly a small piece of, so we kind of provide a continuum of, and there's no judgment on where you are in that continuum, but the overall message is a little bit one of urgency. Like the fastest way to get started is to start. And hopefully it helps be a little bit of a treasure map of how to sift through all the noise and get to the things that really matter.
Especially, I think AI is such a profound tech transformation. It's not a game you necessarily want to find yourself late to.
Yeah, and AI is its own category. It's so amorphous and ambiguous. Like the trend has it as an overarching theme, but then it breaks down. So we think about models and agents. We think about the infrastructure you need behind it. We think about it becoming physical. What does it mean to the tech organizations? So it's almost like, okay, let's move away from this hand-waving headline into what's the bill of materials of the things you actually should be thinking about, because they all matter, right? And there's advances happening in all of them.
Let's make it real. Okay, so let's go through each trend. There's 5 of them.
Speed date through? Okay.
Yes, the speed date. The first one is AI goes physical, navigating the convergence of AI and robotics. So what does it mean to have intelligence that moves beyond screens in today's day and age?
A part of it is physical AI is getting better and better about understanding the real world. So sensors that can know exactly what your product and what your facilities look like, physics models, real world models that can understand how it's going to actually move and react. And then the end game is going to be more and more of the robotic form factor. So the fact that AI is going to move from passive agents in the background or embedded in systems and software into on the factory floor, into the hospital floor, into how we think about security and navigation, maintenance. But they're different things. So we try to break down, of course, the infatuation, especially at CES, is going to be on the robots themselves, from the large excavators that the construction companies have that are now increasingly autonomous, down to the household humanoid that can do chores. So that's advancing, and the cost is coming down, the utility is going up, and the idea is they can actually sense, perceive, react to ambiguous situations, which is amazing. The other piece, which we're more excited about, is the stack you need to actually train, to simulate the environments, and to deploy them, to make them. So there's a whole lot of utility in that side of it too, and they are both required. And so the point of this is we should be thinking about reinventing business process, and increasingly tech is going to have an active tense play in that, especially as it's made physical in the real world. But there's things we still have to solve, and safety is a big one. You've got a very large, potentially humanoid robot that we can't just say we're going to carve out and say no one's going to be around it, and if anyone gets near it, it's going to shut down for safety purposes if it's on a supply chain line or if it's in a hospital floor. So much to come, but a ton of progress being made, and you can see a lot of the headlines put it in the center of where we think the next trillion of investment is going to come, for good reason.
Yeah. I think last year, physical AI as a term really came into the forefront at CES. In the last year, I've seen a lot of investment, a lot of activity, a lot of maturation, declining costs across the board. So, all right, our second trend. So first one, AI goes physical. Second one is the AI Agentic reality check. So preparing for a silicon-based workforce. I'd love to hear your thoughts here. Where are we at with Agentic? Because that's, I think, been the buzzword of the last year.
Yeah, I think the reality check was the things that have to be true to take advantage. One, we have to know where it's going to be creative to have agents in play. And we went through a path of everything should be agentized. Well, not quite. There's going to be places where there's more value. So we're seeing a lot more focus, which is a part of the answer. And so we see it specifically in finance or sourcing or procurement, where suddenly you can have an agent doing really complex tasks that don't take away from the humans. They're still in the loop, but it takes the mundanity of the things they had to do and makes it so it's being done for them and they can have elevated. That's important. But what does it take to make it real? Well, you got to invest in core systems and data, turns out. This isn't a shortcut. the agents are exposed to your transactions, your APIs, and if they're not ready, your agents can't do much. And then this ... I think is the most important piece is what is the implication of humans and machines, if it's agents or if it's back to the physical robots, increasingly being co-workers or collaborators, right? Very different than when we deploy a piece of software and then we train people to use it. This is now more of an active, and the agent's capabilities can evolve. And so there's two sides to it. How do we think about culture, community, learning, development? And we found a stat, my favorite stat of the entire report, 93% of AI investment goes to the tech, 7% goes to everything else, including the people elements. So that's part one. And then part two is a little bit more provocative. We need to challenge, how do we think about agents and bots? Is it just like a piece of code that we deploy, or is it more like the employee life cycle? And what would be the HR process for an agent and a bot? And there's real debate about, is that a healthy, I think it's the right backdrop to say, where would it make sense to think about things like performance management? And how does it apply to, if an agent makes a mistake, is it a trouble ticket we give to the IT staff? Or is it a disciplinary action that we have to do, mandatory learning, like it would be an employee, right? And we don't have all the answers yet, but we're helping invest in the frameworks to think about it. I think it's going to be the next frontier.
Yeah. I think for both physical AI with robots, as we think about our physical companions, and then agentic AI, there's this defining moment we're in, which is what is the relationship between both, and how do you work together? Because I firmly do believe that humans, enabled by technology, enabled by machines, enabled by AI, is going to be the best path forward. But what does that look like in practice? I think is we're going to figure that out over the next couple of years.
Hopefully. And I think that the underlying headline of the importance of the human, and we think about work redesign, because in reality, any agent, any robot is only going to take on a subset of tasks. They're not going to replace entire roles, but the roles of the individuals have to evolve.
So keep precaution. Let's continue the speed date.
Okay, all right.
The AI infrastructure reckoning is the third trend. I love this trend. Optimizing compute strategy in the age of inference economics. What's been the sentiment the past year and the emphasis on compute on infrastructure?
Part of it is elevated to a much more strategic conversation. For a long time, infrastructure and compute was a commodity, and cloud made us think of it as something we just rent and forget about. And it's certainly a continued part of the equation, especially for immediacy. But then you look at the costs at scale, and there's going to be an increasing investment in high-performance compute that you own, and then this edge element, because it plays back into the physical robotics and even more traditional workloads. A lot of times it has to be done as close to business. So on fleet, if it's about autonomous cars, or in the actual warehouse, or on the hospital floor. So that piece, there's not one answer. And it doesn't mean the new hardware replaces what came before necessarily, but this mix of what's the right investment we should be making. There's a lot of nuance to it. But this is the place where if you don't get it right, especially if agents scaling, the meter's going to run quickly if you make the wrong decision. And so how do you have that cost lens on top of the utility lens, on top of the functional impact lens, and all of that feeds into an infrastructure that's really a CEO level dialogue. And CIOs and CTOs used to be the ones that had to carry that buck. It's a higher discussion now.
All right, keeping the party going. Trend number 4, the great rebuild. Architecting an AI native organization.
This is the easiest headline, and it's basically the tech org has shifted from a back office affair. 65% of organizations expect their technology function to be revenue generated. And 64% of CTOs, CIOs report into the CEO now. Where a few years ago it was basically reporting to the CFO, reporting to the COO. It was a cost discussion. How do we squeeze for efficiency? But at the same time, the way we need to deliver technology has fundamentally changed. So AI needs to be embedded in the software development lifecycle, as an example. It's not just a procurement exercise to squeeze the lowest license cost down. Like, we need commitment, we need visibility of the roadmap, architecting for flexibility, because we know the world's going to change. All of that kind of plays into how most IT shops have been built over the years. Really need an overhaul. And the CEOs and the boards aren't patient about it. So it's as much about what capabilities do you need, how much scale do you need, and it's about the background of the CTO, CIO, your tech executive, because they need to be able to articulate the vision to the market, to your people, to your partners, and also have the confidence to get there in a world that looks very different than, I'm 30 years into my career. It looks a lot different than when I started, and it's only going to continue. It's exciting.
Definitely. But the pace of change is just accelerating at, I would say, an unprecedented rate, but it just keeps picking up.
Yeah.
You need a team
Totally.
to help you navigate all the change that's happening.
And recognize that the team is going to evolve. And the worst trap you can fall into is wait until we get to perfect. Wait until we get 100% confidence and, wait for the next model to get released. Wait, because the competition is not waiting. And this might be trite, but the fastest way to get started is to get started.
Definitely.
But do it in focused ways with an eye toward we need to be flexible because the world is going to change. Like we went from fault tolerant to fault expectant as architecture. Like we're going from change management as a one time to like how do we embed that into our tech, into our licensing, into our strategy, which is a huge shift.
Big shifts.
Yeah.
Big shifts. All right. Our fifth and final trend for 2026. The AI advantage dilemma, securing and leveraging AI for cyber defense. So I feel like the first four items we just chatted about were all about how AI is impacting work, our systems. This is a little bit more on the cyber side.
Yeah, and this isn't fifth in, now we have to eat our vegetables before we can enjoy our dessert. It's almost like the foundational cyber and trust. Think about security and privacy and regulatory compliance, which is huge, especially as we talk about new work shifting in different ways. And then even ethics and morality of what all of this means. That all needs to be embedded in how we deliver technology. So a bit of this is good news, hero's journey. We can use AI to do cyber better. So we can actually use AI as a part of our cyber response, and we can embed it in our engineering lifecycle. So it's not up to engineers and architects hopefully doing the right thing, right? It's just embedded in how they work. Which is amazing. Like I don't wake up every morning and curse gravity because I can't slam dunk a basketball, right? I've just gotten used to, I live under it. And so we want that to be the same for security privacy. The flip side is new attack vectors, new entrants, easier access for bad guys to do things that are going to disrupt operations because of AI. And so we have to balance those two, especially as we talk about more and more AI embedded into critical business process or physical robots that are on site in a power plant. So it couldn't be more important. The good news is we're seeing as much advance on the response as we're seeing the evolution of the threat. And a bit of this is a callback to last year's trend too, with quantum finally seeing adoption curves. We know that encryption is one of the things quantum will be very well suited to solve. And so we have to get ready for that now. And we can't wait. So that's a piece of the story too, like PS, that's still really, really important.
And I think this trend will probably be a tale as old as time, good versus bad. It's just that the tools that are used are a little bit different and they're supercharged these days with AI.
And we can't, again, if you make it like a hygiene issue or you make it like a compliance issue, like, oh, we can't release into production until we've checked a couple of boxes, you're probably missing most of the game because it needs to be embedded in the strategy of what we're doing into how we design and architect and build solutions organically.
Well, so Bill, those are our trends for this year. We're at CES. Do you want to share a bit more though about the podcast that will be coming soon and what it's all about?
No, it's going to be amazing. So it's going to be co-hosted by myself, so Deloitte's Chief Technology Officer, Brett Davis, our Chief Innovation Officer, and Simona Spellman, who's our human capital people leader, driving all of our human and AI, and bringing the 3 points of view together with a guest from industry, from clients every episode to basically get beyond the headlines and really dig into what we're seeing, the things that we don't want most of our listeners to have to stumble upon that we've already stumbled upon, hopefully inspire a bit about what's happening in the world of tech. So it's going to be phenomenal, and we're going to stand on the shoulders of giants from TECHTalks, and I know you're going to be a part of the new podcast too, which will be amazing. So coming soon, we're actually going to record the first episode here from CES, so we'll have a bit of a through line here.
Love it. Love it. Well, I'm so excited for it.
And thanks to you and T for all the great work over the years, and this is phenomenal.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, Bill, it's been wonderful having you on our final closing episode of Tech Talks, which is sweet because I think even way back when, Tech Talks was a name that you crowned.
Yeah,
potentially.
I was the first host, so history doesn't always repeat, but sometimes it rhymes. So here we are.
No, well, thanks for that.
Yeah.
And to all our tech savvy listeners out there, thank you so much for tuning in. If you'd like to learn more about our tech trends for 2026, you can download the report. The link will be in the episode description. If you'd like to follow Bill or myself to stay tuned, you can always do that. I'd also just like to send out a very, very special thanks to those on the Tech Savvy team who have made this episode today and the entire podcast possible for the past 3 years. So Janelle Hughes, Marie Gaudet, the entire Tech Savvy team, thank you so much. It has been an absolute privilege serving as your host to the thousands and thousands of people who have tuned in, supported, connected on LinkedIn, sent well wishes, and just contributed to our community. Thank you. It's been a great honor, and I'm so excited as I'll join Bill on this next adventure for the podcast. So until then, I hope that you stay savvy. We'll see you soon.